was also known by the Super Console X. So don't ask me what happened to the box, because I've been careful with this, but the box seems to be not the best quality. But what are we having with this? The Super Console X Supreme, the craziness where it all started. So let's chit chat about this. Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. In today's video we are going to take a close look at the beginning of the Super Console X PC lineup. It's actually just a mini PC with some Batocera. The first edition they were actually using was one with an, let's say, a weird Spanish like image. But what are we getting with this? That was the most interesting part. So first of all, I've lost a lot of things in here. But it was just actually a mini PC. They're still selling this in different kind of, let's say, Intel chipsets. This was a Xeon comparable with, I think it was from 6th generation of i7. But there's nothing like very special about that. So in here we're finding all the attachments for implementing the extra hard drive and a lot of other stuff. This thing has been in my storage for some time, and I can tell you that it is absolutely a beautiful device. So one of those maybe best devices when it comes to the housing or the PC case. So when you're looking at this device, this thing came with a lot of possibilities. New possibilities that I didn't see before. But is it really worth picking up today? That is of course the question. So when it comes to the overall design, this Super Console X was absolutely a very cool, let's say, idea. Having Batocera on a PC like this. Unfortunate, it was completely overpriced with asking like crazy amounts of money. And you can just make this thing actually for free. I mean, when you're getting an older, let's say, HP PC or another one like a mini thin client, you can slap a hard drive on and have the same result sometimes. Because in the inside, we're not getting a super powerful chip. So at the front, we're having two USB ports, an USB-C, the on-off switch, and an audio jack out. At the back, we're finding another 4 USB ports, 2 3.0, 2 2.0, and display port, HDMI, RJ45 2 times. And 2 tiny antennas for the Wi-Fi capabilities. So when it comes to that, there's nothing really fancy. But when it comes to like playing games on it, we had a lot of possibilities we couldn't do before with the Android version that we have reviewed a gazillion times here on the channel. So regarding, let's say, the different ways to play. Of course we have the Raspberry Pi 3, 4 and even the 5 now. And all kinds of different Android boxes. And yeah, when it comes to Android boxes, we have noticed a lot of limitations. And we also had some of the limitations with the Pis. Not with the Pi 5, but still we're having a lot of, let's say, overall problems with the Super Console X Android boxes. And there's where the mini PCs with Batocera actually are so much better. Where you sometimes can buy them for not a lot of money, or getting an old HP laptop. These things with Batocera can play so much more that we couldn't do before when it comes to, let's say, Android boxes. But let's test it out, let's chit chat about, let's say, what it can do and what you can just play on this. Because when all the different solutions out there, it also comes with different price points. And this Xeon Super Console X Supreme thing is quite expensive compared with all the competition. Where it has a fancy case, good cooling and some very nice capabilities. But also at the back we do have all kinds of options when it comes to communication. To begin with, we do have like 2 USB 2.0 ports, then we have like 2 3.0 and RJ45 free Ethernet over here and there. Of course we're going to use only one of them. And then we do have like a display port and an HDMI out, and here we do have the input for the power supply. 2 tiny Wi-Fi antennas for, of course, the Wi-Fi capabilities. And the reason why we're having 2 antennas, because this is an Intel dual board wireless AC 3155 that is using in combination with the antennas. Alright, so here we're having the first module is a DDR4 running on 2666 MHz, in total 8 GB, but the other one is on the other side. Nevertheless, we're having here the NVMe slot that is not in use, as you can see over here. So the CPU is cooled by this gigantic cooler, and I can say it gets it quite hot, but keeps the CPU quite cool. And not to forget, it's super silent. But disassembly of this case is super easy and everybody can do it. Simply because we need to remove 4 screws for each panel. If you remove them, you can just lift it open. I need to point out, with the second panel, the hard drive is basically screwed on the second panel. You need to be very gently when you're removing it. Because there is a special connector that goes straight into the main board, and if you wiggle it around and you didn't do it right, you'll basically ruin it. Here we have the King Fast. This is just only NVMe is inside this machine. That is for the Windows 10, because yep, it's installed. Okay, here we're having the second module, the second DDR4 4GB module. That makes in total 8GB. We're having the extra pins, which you can see over here. This pin has been connected with the hard drive that is screwed on the second panel. This is basically in 2TB that contains all the files and basically all the files that we're going to get and need for having this emulation machine. But they're using a SATA to this special connector for connecting it to the mainboard. But nevertheless, this is a Western Digital 2TB hard disk, and I'm hoping in the future, if SSDs will become affordable, maybe it's a fun and great idea to upgrade it to an SSD. When they were selling this particular product as the Super Console X PC Supreme, yeah, they were selling this with some weird image with all kinds of different languages. So the main menu was in English, but you can see this particular image is, I think, is completely in Spain, particularly when it comes to some games. And the capability of it was not disappointing, because we can actually play some Tekken and Killer Instinct on this older Intel Xeon chipset. That's kind of interesting, because it's kind of weird that they're using Xeon, because you would expect to get yourself like an i3, i5 or maybe an i7, where it is comparable with an i7 but a very older chip of the Intel series. Start off with MAME, but these are the games that are not running on the Super Console X Pro or most of the time a Raspberry Pi number 4. Okay, so when it comes to MAME Tekken, it seems to be working just fine. And also when it comes to the Tekken Tag version, because that struggles big time on many cheaper mini PCs. But one of the exciting elements is that we can actually play PlayStation 1 on 2x resolution. That can also be implemented with the Sega Naomi systems. And of course, even with two-dimensional games, we can upscale it to higher resolutions. Sega Saturn is a system that struggles so much on, let's say, cheap boxes and sometimes even some mini PCs. But with this old beast, we can just upscale it and play a lot of old school classic games. Depending on what game you want to emulate, with PlayStation Portable also there no problem whatsoever, but I've seen it going all the way up to like say 2x, 4x, even crazy amounts of 6x resolution. But again, it depends what kind of game you want to play, because we do have an older Xeon CPU that sometimes struggles, and depending what kind of version of Batocera and the PPSPP emulator you're running at the background. And also we have the possibility to emulate some PlayStation 2 on this older machine. And that is absolutely great, because this is one of my favorite systems to play. So PlayStation 2 has always been, let's say, a system that is struggling on, let's say, some cheaper mini PCs. So if you want to have overall better results, you need to get yourself the latest PlayStation 2 emulators and maybe get yourself a mini PC, not with a Xenon like this particular one, but just one with overall, let's say, a better and newer CPU that has way more power for maybe less money. Batocera is so much more supremer compared with, let's say, other cheap Android boxes. But also depending on what you want to play. I've noticed some of you just want to play some 8-bit, 16-bit. You don't need to spend so much money on a mini PC with some Batocera. But after complaining a lot on N64, this was actually one of the first machines I can finally enjoy some old school Cruis'n USA and some other classics. Reviewing all kinds of different Android boxes, the Super Console X Supreme is absolutely the supreme king of all of them, because where we have so many limitations when it comes to, let's say, emulation performance, heat or whatsoever, it was all not a convenient overall experience for most of the systems. But is it really worth buying? I think not, simply because there are so many different options out there. I mean, mini PCs, thin clients are a fraction of the cost of this little freaking beast of a device. Where I love the case, if you're going to be looking on AliExpress, you can find it with way better specification for less money.